In the end of Kung Fu Panda 4, many things were left and others were not well explained, involving practically all the characters: Po, Jin, Chameleon, the Furious Five, Master Shifu, and a few more details. But don't worry, because in this video, you'll understand all of it. And as the title states, this video contains spoilers from the movie, so from now on, it's at your own risk. The first important detail to mention here is that Po is no longer the Dragon Warrior. Everyone was surprised, including him. But after Master Oogway passed away, someone needed to take his place and become the spiritual leader of the Valley of Peace. But why did it have to be Po? Couldn't it be Shifu? And then Po would continue as the Dragon Warrior? Yes, certainly it could, and that's what everyone expected. But I'll tell you all about it and much more. You're on the Cine Lovers channel, your favorite channel for movies, animations, and films. Well, Shifu could indeed be the spiritual leader of the Valley of Peace, and he really wanted that. He got upset and irritated for not being chosen as Oogway's successor, but he said he's okay with it. And it had to be Po because at the end of the third movie, Master Oogway in the spirit realm hands the Staff of Wisdom to Po. Oogway even says so. Because of this detail, Po needed to take on this role. And since Po will be the new spiritual leader of the Valley of Peace, someone has to take on the role of the new Dragon Warrior. Even though we wanted it to be Tigress or Tai Lung, expectations were raised, but it didn't turn out that way. The one who ended up becoming the new Dragon Warrior was Jin, the fox. Her storyline became quite interesting, but it would be better if one of the other two assumed this position. And if it really had to be Jin, in my opinion, it would be better if it happened in the fifth movie, to work more calmly on her redemption from thief to Dragon Warrior. And at the end of the movie, it shows her training to become the Dragon Warrior. Master Shifu didn't like the idea, but he respected Po's decision because in this case, Po would choose his successor. Shifu could give advice and opinions, but the final decision was Po's. And in the scene where Jin is training, who shows up to train her? The Furious Five. With this special participation of the Furious Five, there's this doubt: if they barely appeared in the fourth film, how will their appearance be in the fifth and sixth Kung Fu Panda? Because DreamWorks said there will be up to the sixth Kung Fu Panda, and the way the fourth movie ends already sets the stage for a new adventure. Hopefully, the Furious Five will return with worthy appearances and not just with no dialogue and 3 seconds of screen time. But if there's one thing that takes 3 seconds and is great, it's your like on this video. It's free and supports the channel. Thanks! And what about Chameleon? She's the most powerful villain in the franchise and can transform into whoever she wants. But she wants more. Chameleon wants to open a portal to the spirit realm and bring the villains from there, so she can suck the Kung Fu out of all of them. And she brings everyone except Master Oogway. Furthermore, she also doesn't steal Po's Kung Fu. So why were they the only ones to escape this? Because Chameleon wanted the Kung Fu of the villains, and Po and Oogway are not villains. But the biggest question isn't that. At the end of the movie, when Po and Jin defeat the villain, all the Kung Fu of the villains that Chameleon had stolen returns to each villain, and they all go back to the spirit realm, which doesn't make much sense. After this video ends, watch this video here, where I explain in more detail about the return and non-return of Kai, Lord Shin, and Tai Lung. And at the end of the movie, Tai Lung grabs Chameleon by the neck and takes her to the spirit realm. So Chameleon is still alive, but she's in the spirit realm. And there's something strange there. Chameleon can transform into whoever she wants. Even if she no longer has the Kung Fu of the villains, she can still transform because that's her power. The movie starts with her transformed into Tai Lung, even though she hadn't opened the portal to the spirit realm yet. But when Tai Lung grabs Chameleon, she simply accepts it and goes for a stroll in the spirit realm. I received several comments from you about this scene, asking why didn't she transform into a character to try to escape Tai Lung's clutches. Well, she could have easily done that. Probably she would have been caught later because there were many masters in that hall, but the story would have unfolded more and it would have been very good. She trying to escape, and then being captured, it would bring a greater challenge to the character. But that's not what happened. And the appearances of Lord Shin and General Kai were weird because they didn't have any lines and appeared very little. And the doubt regarding them is that it was confusing for Chameleon to bring the two directly from the spirit realm when they weren't there. It was very strange. As for Master Shifu, many people were confused about his role in this movie. He's a great character. I personally really like him. But as Po is evolving and maturing, Shifu's role is becoming smaller and smaller, including in the third movie. His participation is already much reduced compared to the first two Kung Fu Panda. And now in Kung Fu Panda 4, it's clear that he really wanted to be the spiritual leader of the Valley of Peace. He wanted to be Master Oogway's successor. But as Oogway himself handed the Staff of Wisdom to Po and not to him, then Shifu just has to accept the decision and advise Po. Because now Po will assume the highest position in Kung Fu. He will be above Master Shifu, and his participation in the fourth film was also very small. Now for the fifth Kung Fu Panda, maybe Shifu will go to the spirit realm, but well. The gang of thieves that Jin knew was actually like her family because in childhood, Han let Jin stay with them and taught her some tricks. And at the end of Kung Fu Panda 4, Han along with his friends help Po and Jin to defeat Chameleon's army, and then they don't appear anymore. So it seems like they went back to their underworld, where they live. And maybe they could appear in a future movie. I don't see much of a story for them to continue, but it's possible. They were quite funny, and every scene with someone from that gang was quite entertaining. Kung Fu Panda 4 wasn't what we expected, but it also has its positive sides, especially in comedy and action scenes. What did you think of this movie? Leave your opinion here. And remember what I said about the weird appearances of the villains? This is your video. And for you to understand why Kung Fu Panda 4 is the worst in the franchise, just click here.